In this video, I'm going to walk you through the process of taking an existing estimate that's been accepted and converting it into a job, which means we'll create the contract, the budget, and all the other attributes we need to then bill against the job and manage it. Let's get started with this estimate here, and it's called the Tesla parking garage. Now, I've intentionally kept this to be a very small scope of work, but I'm going to open it up. And you can see that it's an estimate that includes some general requirements, existing conditions, demolition and whatnot, and then a bunch of concrete work to build a parking structure. All right, so from here, I'm going to accept the job, which will move it in our estimating pipeline from bidding to accepted. And now I'm going to click here and say, create a job. From here, this is going to pull up the job creation wizard. So the first thing I'm going to do is give it a number. So in this example, we're going to use 006. That's the next in my sequence. I'm making sure the address is right. I'm going to select a project manager, and we're going to say this job was starting in March and it's ending in July. I'm going to click next. So what's going to happen here is it's pulling in the line items from the estimate that had associated cost codes. Now, what's nice about this is if this estimate had 75, 100 line items broken down into very detailed pieces of work, let's say concrete, rebar, reinforcement, so on and so forth, those are going to get summarized into the budget line items based on the cost codes and the cost types. So in this example here, you can see general requirements. We have other, $150,000, equipment, $25,000, labor, $25,000. We have a subcontract for $100,000 for the existing conditions, and we have a subcontract for $500,000 for the concrete work. Now, what's nice about this is you can move the money around. So we have $800,000 in cost. We could add additional budget line items, and we can move money out of these budget line items before the budget's finalized into other line items, or we could even consolidate this down. If we wanted just one lump sum price, we could do that as well. As complicated or as simple as you'd like it, you have the ability to do that. So when I click next, now we're going to go to the contract details. So this is the sales side of the equation. So the first thing we want to look at is which revenue account is this going to hit? Because this is a construction company, we have construction revenue, we have pre-construction revenue, and then we have interest income and other income. We're going to keep this under construction revenue, and we're going to put in 10% retainage as our default. Now it's going to use this to, as we're billing the owner, it's going to withhold 10%. Now we let you do variable retainage, so we'll have the opportunity to adjust this once we get into the project. For now, we're going to leave it as is. Here we can see our line items, and just like the budget, we can add and remove line items. We just need to land at this $1 million sales price. We can also make these line items taxable. And down below, we can put in inclusions and exclusions. So we can write as many inclusions and exclusions as we'd like. Now, the idea here is that what was used in the estimate that got signed off on is what you want to show up here as at least your base. Now, you can add additional inclusions, exclusions. Since the estimate, some things have changed. You can put those back in. And it's also important to note, too, that we're not actually creating the contract. This is just the summation of the contract that we're going to use for invoicing and for billing purposes to bill the customer and to manage the budget. Down below, we have some notes. And if I click next, this is going to show us a summary of the job. When I click finish, we are now ready to start building and to start billing against the job. So at the top, we can see the contract. We can go in and start billing against this contract. So let's say we wanted to create mobilization charges. We can click create contract invoice. We can choose our transaction date. We're going to say that we're billing through March in this case. And I could go in and I could begin to add in cost, right? Let's say that we are 10% complete. Now this is AI format. So let's say we finished. We're going to build 10% of the general requirements. We're going to hold back retainage. That's $25,000. Click save. We have now billed against this job. And if you go over to the transactions, you can take a look at it. So we now have an AI formatted bill, $25,000 against the $1 million. You can see if there's any additions or deductions. We have everything we need to get signed off on and submit to the owner to get paid for the project. Now let's go in and add an expense to this job. So I'm going to go to the budget. Here you can see the different line items. Under the line items, you can see the nested cost types. Now these cost codes, these can be up to 3 layers deep. I just left it for simplicity's sake a single layer, but you could have general requirements, you could have project management and supervision as a nested layer under this, and then the cost types will roll up under that. You can also look at this from the perspective of cost types, so you can toggle back and forth between those. And we have a full budget. Right, as you scroll from left to right, you can see forecast to complete. You can do manual overrides, everything you need to manage the financials of this project. Let's go ahead and create a quick bill. I'm going to click add a job. I'm going to say add a bill. And in this example, I'm going to go grab a document. We're going to pretend that I got a bill from the concrete contractor. All right, I got a bill for concrete. I'm going to select my concrete vendor, Capital Concrete. I'm going to put in the date of the bill. And in this example, this is going to be a subcontractor cost. It's Division 03 cost codes. So I'm basically coding this as I'm going. And we're going to say that we got billed $150,000. Now what's great about this is you'll notice here, it's showing me my remaining budget. So as I'm putting in these costs, it's showing me whether or not I have the budget for that particular cost code and cost type. I'm going to withhold the retainage. And I'm going to put in a conditional lien waiver that we received with the bill. So now I have a bill, I have a copy of the bill, I have a copy of the lien waiver. I click save, and now I can see this has now hit the budget. Division 03 concrete, you could see that we have $150,000 costs against that budget. We're now 30% complete. If you go look at the overview, you'll see your WIP report. You can see that we've incurred 18% of the budget. We have earned revenue of $187,000. And we've only invoiced $22,000. We're now $165,000 underbilled, obviously because I haven't started billing for these additional costs that have come in. But at a high level, that's how we went from an estimate to a job with a contract, with a budget, with the ability to bill against that contract, and to create bills that have hit the job budget, but have also hit the general ledger. I hope you found this demonstration helpful. And if you would like to see a personalized demonstration, feel free to reach out to us. Thank you so much.